Alright guys, I want to share with you this. So these are the power feed clutches, and how you adjust them is this bearing nut on the back, right? So it's a Wiggins Hitet nut, a Wiggins nut some people call them, and I use the piece of aluminum to just hammer them off. But I need to do some precision adjustment, and you really need a socket because they're down in a bore a bit. So I made a socket. I took that one off. I take it over to the mill. So I mentioned before, I love using this closing 85/20 mil because it's so light and easy to use. The Gorton and the Bridgeport and all my other big mills are really great, but this one is just super handy and light. So here's the bearing nut. So it's 4 little notches. So if I can put this on and one-handedly get this joker on there. Yeah, come on, puppy. There you go. It fits. Alright, so that fits on there, right? And what it is, I got the dimensions. They're 1/8 inch little tab slots, and it's 5/8 between them across in both directions. So I just, milled it out and made a socket out of 4140. So even not heat treating it, that should be Rockwell about 28C, 32C. I just got it in a little V block here. So that worked out pretty well. Hard to pick it off, but you guys seen, well, geez Louise, yeah. If I get it off there is what I gotta do, but it's tight. And right, and so that's what it is. It is a I hope the lights, yeah, there you go. Maybe I was standing in the shadows. But that's what it is. You just kind of whittle it back and forth and down and around in XY, XY. Used a 3/16 carbide end mill. And just take a swipe, move it over, take a swipe, do next quadrant, next quadrant, next quadrant. And you keep on doing it. And you just keep on, I was taking 50,000 steps a cut. That's it's 150,000 deep right there. And that's, that fits well for what this is. So, alright, just wanted to show you that quick. Making a socket for these nuts because I'm going to have to adjust them, and I want to have something easy to use, not just, I mean, the piece of aluminum and a hammer was great for getting them off, but this little socket guy is really going to be a lot easier to use. So just wanted to quick show you that. I'll bring you something more. Some progress on the power feed assemblies. Really, it's the wrench. So how this works is inside here, maybe you can see, this one has it. Actually, when you take this off, there's a inside there is hollow, right? And there's a dowel pin. Let me get these equalized here, blah, blah, blah. So I was missing one. So I got another 1/4" dowel pin, and I ground a point on it with the spin indexer on the surface grinder. So now I got 2 of them. Where that goes, maybe you can't see down in the hole, it goes in there, right? And there's a tip. You can't see. And this whole thing rocks up, it goes in there. So it starts there, it rocks up, and it locks straight out. So when this thing's straight out, the pin locks. So there's a spring in there, and a socket set screw. Oops. So that's kind of fun. What I wanted to show you, oh yeah, there's the spring and the whatever. But I got this set up because I wanted to show you this. I made this one-handed removal. Okay. So as I told you guys, I used a piece of aluminum to remove that bearing nut. And then I made this out of a piece of steel to reach down in there. Now, it's not that complicated as you might think. It's 5/8 of an inch between the inside dimension, 5/8 inside to inside, both directions. And these little nubby nubs are 1/8 wide. And you end up just, you know, using I used the end mill and just cleaned out in between them. Found my center, did my offsets, and just you know, milled to the left, to the right, and milled crisscross, and that's it. So that fits on there ever so nice, and so that's going to be the go-to tool to tighten that up. And there's a 1-inch piece of shaft. I milled a 3/4 hex, so I can put a wrench on there, box wrench or something. Socket, doesn't matter. This is just a piece of 4140 I had. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. And the bevel matches the taper of those nuts. Because when you get the lock washers in there, let me put that down. Kind of see when the nut's on there and the lock washer's there, it doesn't interfere with the tabs of the lock washer. I know it's hard to visualize without a nut. But that's all I wanted to do, is just show you guys this thing made up out of 4140 steel, so I can have a tool to do this with. I don't know if anybody watching the video can see what I made there, if they got a Hendey. So you can buy this from with Ted Higgins. A similar socket, and it's like $250. So I made this up, and I don't know, it may take me an hour and a half, 2 hours by the time I made the hex. And you know, it feels good to make a tool. And like I said, I didn't even know I was missing a little you know, pointy engagement dog for this whole assembly. So I'll clean this. I got this one cleaned up. I gotta just clean this guy up and keep going on everything. But yeah, super happy to make that. And I'll bring you more as I progress. You know, it's the little things that you have to deal with that make rebuilding a machine, reworking a machine, take a long time. So let me kind of show you what I'm up against here. It's this kind of little stuff. Now this is the worm for the, I guess it's the bed feed. It could be the cross feed, not sure. And you see there's a notch in it, right? There's a notch, and what that's for, kind of make sure the zoomy zoom works pretty good, pretty well. It's just a notch in the steel. So now this is a thrust bearing, a thrust washer. you can see there's a hole and it's cracked. Can you see the crack across there? Now I'm not too worried about it. And what was in that hole was the remnants of an 093 pin. Okay? So what that did is that made sure that the washer spun with the worm. So that would be da 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 da, bam, like that. It's even slightly, there's a little magnetic. Maybe somebody ground that back, you know, 80 years ago. It would be 70 some years ago. So anyways, I'm looking through my assortment of dowel pins, and I don't quite see, I don't think I have an 093, and you think, you know, 3/32 is common, very common, but you know, it's not like I don't have stuff, right? Now these are all roll pins. They're not dowel pins. Majority of them are stainless roll pins. And I do have an 093 roll pin, but I'm not sure if it would be strong enough because the original was broken and it was a solid dowel pin. So I do have, you know, stuff that I keep, but you can't keep everything. These are stainless nuts, coarse fine, itty bitty, and I have washers, you know. So it's not like I don't have stuff. And then of course these are set screws, you know, grub screws, whatever you call them. So I do have stuff, but I don't happen to have the 093 3/32. Let me zoom this down here, dowel pin. So what I'm thinking, this is a 3/32 tungsten from a TIG welder, and tungsten's hard. It's really hard. Maybe it's even more durable. I say durable because it kind of describes hardness and toughness and you know, some ductility, I guess. But anyways, don't get lost in the definition. I'm thinking I might flat these faces off and grind a piece, cut a piece off, and make my own pin out of a tungsten TIG electrode. Oops. Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to check at work. Maybe I can grab a pin, an 093 pin from work. But if not, I'm going to fiddle around and just make one out of tungsten. Because, you know, it's just these little things, you know, take up some time. But not the end of the world. If that's the hardest thing I had to do, I mean, that's easy. And I'm not too worried about the, come on, focus action. Things. I had a good shot. It wants to focus on the background. I've seen everybody's YouTube video. Whatever. I'm not worried about that. So, just a little thing I'm playing with here. We'll bring it back with something more.